and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda of the February 19, 2019 regular meeting as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next is the approval of the consent agenda items.
I move to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next we have public participation. Okay, we'll move on to the report of the superintendent, Dr. Flake.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hope the weather stays good. Tonight, in your board packet, you should have a note of appreciation. My next part of the board meeting here, what we discovered after we did the September count and presented it to you in October, is that we actually included the pre-K in the enrollment count that we gave you. And as we went back and looked at previous numbers and tried to figure out what was going on, those previous numbers didn't include the pre-K. So from this point forward, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a K through 12 attendance report, and then you're also going to get a pre-K. Because, you know, we have 2 Missouri preschool program classrooms, and then we have early childhood special ed. So we are providing services for quite a few pre-K children in our community. So I think it's an important part of what we do. So what we did in September is we pulled the pre-K out, and as you see there, our enrollment was 1,800. And then when you look at our January enrollment, we slid back a little bit, and it is 1,787. So we are up 9 students as compared to last year, so a little bit of growth. I'm still very happy to see that, and very, you know, of course I'd like to see it a lot bigger, but, you know, I'm very happy with those numbers. And then on the pre-K information, so this will be our baseline year. We'll start from this point forward, and if we can find time in the near future, we may go back and try to fill in some of the previous years, but that'll take a little time. But, so I just started with the September enrollment. In September, we had 57 pre-K students, and here in January, we have 68. So we're very happy to be able to service as many of those students as we can. Does anyone have any questions on enrollment? All right. Then I will go ahead and move on to pre-K and kindergarten registration. And it's getting a lot closer.
Yeah.
So, Bloomsdale's will be held on Saturday, March 23rd from 8 to 12. St. John Elementary is Saturday, March 30th from 8 to 12. Scheduling will begin Monday, February 25th. So if you have a preschooler or a kindergarten student that needs to be screened, please call the building that your child would attend and set up an appointment. I am going to show you the videos. Get this working here. So this is our Bloomsdale Elementary video.
Bloomsdale kindergarten registration will be Saturday, March 23rd, 2019.
Starting at 8 a.m. by appointment only. Call
573-883-4500, extension 4.
Parents can start making appointments on February 25th, 2019. You must turn 5 before August 1st, 2019 to be eligible.
Here are things that you need to bring. Proof residency, socially security, birth certificate, chocolate. Children will be screened on your skills. Concept. Self-help. Social and taking me in here. They didn't hide weight. Dental. Well,
I don't think she was happy she had to say dental.
So that was the Bloomsdale. And here is the St. Genevieve Elementary video. Let's see.
Kindergarten registration will be Saturday, March 30th, 2019.
Starting at 8 a.m. by appointment only.
Parents can start making appointments on February 25th, 2019.
At 573-883-4500, extension 3.
Your child must turn 5 before August 1st, 2019 to be eligible.
here are the things you need to bring. Proof of medicine. Official birth certificate. Shot records. Children's candies, rained on. Motor skills. Content. Self-help. Social and emotional. Language. Speech and hearing. Vision, height, and weight. Dental. Welcome to kindergarten.
And that's where it all started.
And you know, I will point out, the great thing about these videos is that we have our high school kids, and in this case, Emily Abt and Haley Schmelzler, that got to work with our kindergarten students and the teachers, and they actually put this together. So the partnership and just the work that you see our kids doing with the videos is amazing. So, plus they just make you smile. All right, so then I'm gonna go back so I can find Mrs. Fritchie Dunsey's stuff later. Okay. And then next, I will turn it over to Dr. Taylor. He's going to go over standardized test scores, APR. And this month, it does say that we're going to give you disaggregated graduation rate data. We're actually going to request that we table that, and we'll do it in March, because since APR and the standardized test scores came out so late, Dr. Taylor spent a lot of time trying to put that together, so if you're okay, we would like to table the graduation information we'll do it next month. Thank you very much.
I was so excited about the CSIP and the APR.
It was a lot, yeah.
Well, good evening, everyone. I kept the same format as last year, just so you would consistently see the same data year after year. This is ACT data from 2011 to 2018. It's a lot of information on one page. If you look down at the bottom where I've circled that 19, that's our composite district score. And if you look just above that at 19.5, that was our composite score last year. So we're down just a hair. But if you look at the state level, 20.4, just to the right of that, and this year is 20, they're down just a hair as well. All that other information is broken out into English, math, reading, and science, but it's the composite score that really catches my attention. Also, the last 3 years, we have been testing all of our 11th grade students. The district has made a commitment. The state paid for it, I believe, 1 year, and then pulled funding back, and our district feels like it's important to provide those kids with the ACT test and allow them that opportunity. So we've continued that. We're down, find my page, 28 students from last year, 154 to 126, so the number of students that took it is down just slightly as well. We're going to move on to math and EOC data for English language arts. We're going to start in grades 3, 4, and 5. Grade 3, state level on the far left is 323. We then have St. Gen R2, and that's Bloomsdale and St. Gen Elementary combined. And then we have it broken out by Bloomsdale Elementary and St. Gen Elementary. And so for the district, it's 358.8, which is significantly above the state level. I'm going to address the difference in Bloomsdale and St. Gen in just a second. If we move on to 4th grade, you'll see that the state is 345.5, and then Bloomsdale is 367, and St. Gen is 370, is that 5, is 376? And then 5th grade. The state is 346, Bloomsdale is 383, and St. Gen Elementary is 384. I'm sure you all saw the press releases on our APR. We received 100% again. There are always areas that we need to find to improve upon. This is one of them. We've got a professional development day coming up March 1st, and Mrs. Zusman and Mrs. Diesel and I are working together to see if we can provide collaboration time so that those teachers can get together and coordinate. We don't get a lot of opportunity to coordinate with St. Gen Elementary teachers and Bloomsdale Elementary teachers. So hopefully on March 1st we'll find some time and allow them some productive time to get together, talk about what we're doing at each grade level, and see if we can collaborate and build on that. And there's all of them together. I like them separated out. Throwing this up all at one time confuses me a little bit, so I wanted to break it out for everybody, look at it one at a time. Moving on to grades 6, 7, and 8 in English language arts. State was 341, and SGR2, which is also just St. Genevieve Middle School because we only have one middle school, 373.8. This is grade 6. Grade 6 is 32 points higher than the state average, which is a significant amount. If we look at grade 7, we're 9 points higher than the state average. We're also going to provide time to the middle school teachers to get together and talk about maybe what we could, I mean, we're above the state average, but what could we do to help improve that score there at the 7th grade level. And then at the 8th grade level, we're 30 points higher than the state average. State's at 340 and we're at 370. So that's a significant amount as well. If we look at them all together, you can see that little dip at the 7th grade level. And like I said, while we're still above the state level, the 6th grade level and the 8th grade level are doing a fantastic job. And this could be a variety of reasons. It could be a group of students. It's a brand new test as well. It could be the brand new test and adjusting to that. So they're going to try to tease that information out and identify some goals based on this data. English 2, we didn't have data from English 2 last year. If you'll remember, it was removed. The state level is 343 and St. Genevieve High School is 369. 26 points higher than the state. Well,
I said, yo, you give them all these beautiful colors. Energy and spirit.
Right.
Your old high school is great.
we're going to revisit this next year. Moving on to mathematics. Thank you, Mr. Haney. Grades 3, 4, and 5. If we look at 3rd grade first. State is 317.9. As a district, we're at 371. At Bloomsdale, we're at 353, and at St. Genevieve Elementary, 384. So once again, there's a little discrepancy there from Bloomsdale to St. Gen. So that's going to be a good opportunity on March 1st to look at this data as well. That's great. Grade 4, 311 at the state, 345 for Bloomsdale Elementary, and 372 for St. Gen Elementary. Grade 5, 308 for the state, 351 for Bloomsdale, and 365 for St. Gen Elementary. So still significantly above the state level, which is fantastic. There they all are together. Grade 6, 7, and 8 mathematics. State level is 304. St. Genevieve Middle School is 354.1. That's 50 points higher than the state. Grade 7, 302 and 365, roughly 63 points higher than the state. And then grade 8, state took a dip here at 271, and we are at 368, which is 96 points higher than the state. So if we look at them all together, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math have their curriculum coordinated and are doing a fantastic job. Algebra, I'm sorry, Chris. Algebra 1.
They look like tombstones. That's part of the thing.
And of course, exam for Algebra 1. State level's 324, and we are at 352. 28 points higher than the state, roughly. So if we move on to science, even science has more color. The state conducted a field test in science this year at grades 5, 8, and 10. So no data was provided, and I'm going to talk about that when we look at the district overall score again at the end. Moving on to social studies, and I know we've been concentrating on social studies for a long time at the high school, attempting to get those scores up and improve in that area. State's at 372, we're at 396. So that's roughly 25 points higher. Social studies has done a fantastic job in the high school, working together to coordinate and to get these scores up. So moving on to APR data. I threw this in there, this is last year's data. There's a couple things I want to point out, because they don't provide this report anymore because we can't compare this year's data to last year's data. We had some new tests, things have changed, and it's hard to do, it's hard not to compare it to last year, but I wanted to separate it out. One thing I did want to point out was, you'll see a total there of 140. This year our total is down to 120 because that science was a field test. There were 16 points in category 1, academic achievement, that were removed, and there were 4 points in category 2, subgroup achievement, that were removed. So in this report, you will see a total of 120 with those 20 points removed, but you will see there's 40 out of 40 on standard 1 academic achievement, 10 out of 10 on standard 2 subgroup achievement, 30 out of 30 on college and career readiness, 10 out of 10 on attendance, and 30 out of 30 on graduation rate. So still at 100% and still a fantastic faculty and staff and students. They just did a fantastic job. And there's that 40 points, which is 20 points lower, and the 10 points, which is 4 points lower. Next year, the state will be conducting a field test in social studies. So we still won't be at 140 points total next year. We'll be at 130 points because there's 8 points removed from standard 1 academic achievement. And there's 2 points removed from standard 2 subgroup achievement. So that's a total of 10 for social studies. And like I said, 120 out of 120, 100% for the second year in a row. I contacted, when all this data was finally released, I contacted Bailey Otto, who's starting with us on March 1st and March 4th, and begged her, and then went to Mrs. Otto and said, tell her that if she doesn't have time, she doesn't have to do it. But I thought it would be nice to get her off on the right foot, writing something fantastic about the district that she's going to work in. She loved it. And as you can probably read by her releases, she's a fantastic writer and did a great job getting the information out there. So Does anyone have any questions?
Congratulations, everyone. Awesome job. You can't do much better.
You can only imagine what we felt like when we got that text saying what all happened. I mean, you guys are truly the backbone of St. Genevieve Elementary School District. Teachers, students, staff, parents, everyone. We love you all. And thank you.
I'm pretty excited too. So we'll move on to the principal's report. So who's gonna go first?
Get that way.
Yeah, this is flying all over the place.
Good evening. Since we didn't do a principal report last month, I had a lot to report on, but I tried to limit it to 5 slides.
Oh, that's okay. You know we love you, so.
So this is a big collage of some of the events that we did. I couldn't list all of them, couldn't show all of them. But we had a community showcase for our lead time. We invited community members in to come and see our lead groups, and we had our welcome leaders take them around and show them the lead groups. We had our super speakers talk to them when they came in. We had our broadcast bunch show them some videos, and I think that went really well for our first time inviting the community in. I think it went really well. We have some tweaks we're going to do next time. Then we have our family learning workshop, which is coming up this Saturday from 8 to noon. We invited families in to learn about the 7 habits and how they can use them at home and what some activities they can do at home with their families. We have a community leadership spotlight, which is the picture up in the corner, the little girl interviewing, is it Tom? Yes. We came to the Chamber of Commerce meeting and interviewed 5 or 6 people, and the little girls were so excited about that, they loved it. And then we are creating a video for our broadcast bunch, and we're gonna have that on the TVs, about our community leaders and what the Chamber of Commerce is and how they can be involved in their community. And we started tracking our lead measures and our WIGs. We got a school-wide goal of improving our math, and every grade level has a goal to improve their math, and then every classroom has a goal, and every student, and it all builds on math. Each student has a lead measure to track. So I guess I have that on a different slide, a picture of, it was so neat. I went to a kindergarten classroom, and they were all in 5 different groups, and they all had 5 different things they had to work on. Like this group had to work on writing numbers, and this group had to work on addition and subtraction, and they could do it in kindergarten. They were working on their lead measures, and they were tracking it. It was really neat. We're doing service learning projects in our lead groups up in the corner. That's Ms. Kirshner's group. And they were collecting shampoo, deodorant, and things for the nursing homes. And then our patriotic leaders, they're creating a big flag out of those popsicle sticks. They were painting those. We have positive office referrals each month. We usually get between 10 and 12 positive office referrals for displaying the habits. I don't know if you can really see it, but that red and yellow is a big Chinese dragon that Ms. Bergaitis created with her RTI group. They were teaching about the Chinese culture, and she was teaching them some language, and she even brought in chopsticks and fortune cookies, and they tried to eat with chopsticks. And then they marched the dragon through the hallway playing music. And then we had 100th day celebration. Oh, that's down in the corner. The little girls are doing 100th day activities. So we introduced our mountain of the 4 disciplines, and that's where we're tracking our lead measures and reaching our goals. Mr. Kingery actually climbs mountains, so he brought in some pictures and talked about how, you know, you have to prepare as a mountain climber, you have to set a goal, you have to practice, you have to track your practice and all that stuff, and he compared it to our mountains. All the kids thought that Mr. Kingery was gonna teach them how to climb a mountain. But they're learning now what the mountain is. And then up in the corner, we have a bell outside the office. When the students reach their goal, they can come up and ring that bell outside the office. We had their graduation, which is always amazing, but this year Officer McCarty surprised us, and he had the kids go to the parents and give them a flower and thank them for, and he was playing this song, and we were all crying. It was so good. And it's always amazing, because you hear them sing that song, and you hope that they carry that into their middle school and high school years. We had Kindness Week. Miss Rowland and a group of fourth graders, that group down in the corner, they gave up their recess for 2 months. Like every other Thursday, they would give up their recess, and they came in with Miss Rowland and planned activities for Kindness Week. And they did fundraisers where students could buy chances to throw pies at certain kids, and they could buy a chance to be the principal for a day. That's Mr. Stemler up there in the top corner. He was principal when I was a fourth grade student. That was fun. And I was sore from dodgeball. And then that fundraiser paid for t-shirts for the whole school. And we got different colored t-shirts for each grade level. And we're gonna use those t-shirts for field day as well. And all throughout the week, just kindness was the focus. They were doing kindness activities in the classrooms. And all throughout the building, we did like kindness bingo, and we did a bulletin board where we displayed kindness habits, or kindness acts. And then this was just a personal note. I think this is amazing. We have 6 little dragons coming soon in 5 years.
I like the basketball.
And we have somebody that's gonna be out on maternity leave for all 6 of those months in a row. That's it, Williams.
Lori, I just want to let you know, I want to give you some good feedback on the kids interviewing the chambers members. I heard a lot from them. They were real excited. They were excited.
Okay, good evening. All right, just like Lori said, boy, we've been so busy with having not really shown anything since we came back in January, and really didn't decide what to put in tonight. So the first thing I'm going to start out with is Mrs. Fritsch, our instructional math coach, took both Bloomsdale and St. John kids to the annual math competition, and they continue to just do better every year. Now, these are just the St. John Elementary students, but I'm going to brag on a few of them because several of them are moving on to the regional competition. So Lexi Ram placed 4th, and Simon Fritsch placed 3rd in the sprint test, and they'll be moving on. Eleanor McClin placed 4th, and Alison Boyette placed 1st, so the target test. And they are very hard. I mean, I was a proctor, and I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, it's amazing that they can do these tests. The team test, one of our teams placed 4th, and that's Gavin Gegg, Ethan Huff, Carter Hogan Miller, and Austin Nagger. They'll move on. And then we have 4 individual medalists. Chase Nitz was 5th, Lexi Ram was 4th, and Simon Fritsch was 2nd. They're moving on as well. So just about the whole team in some way is moving on. And then for overall points, Tylen Hager is moving on. So we wish them the best on March 30th down at Cape. They're going to go to SEMO. They're very excited to go down to a big university and try to do their best. All right. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Lori. All right. So the next slide, let's see what it is here. Okay, learning and leadership. Like Lori, we're always tying learning into leading. And boy, it was so hard to pick the slides, but I wanted to accent the wigs, like Mrs. Usman said over on the right. That happens to be the 5th grade, the 3rd grade wigs. So our building academic wig is writing. Our academic team looked at our scores and decided writing was where we wanted to place our emphasis and our goals. So academic-wise, all students will have a writing goal down the line, but right now, we're still doing classroom goals, just to kind of help the students learn how to set a goal, set lead measures or steps to get there, and track their data. So the third grade is doing something, I think, kind of general, like keeping up with their planners daily and neat desks. The first time you learn to make a goal, it doesn't have to be academic. As a matter of fact, it probably shouldn't be academic. Just pick something that you'll probably be successful at and learn how to do it. So that's an example of the third grade goal. Because in December, the teachers each picked a goal and modeled for their kids how to do it. So you kind of do it in steps. So that's our lead process where we're at right now. In the middle, we continue to collaborate with Dr. Oldham and his middle schoolers, and in that particular picture, they're doing a global learning event. He comes down and works with our fourth graders, so the middle schoolers come down and they pair up with our fourth graders, and they use Flipgrid and other formats to collaborate with classrooms in Mexico and all over the world. Oops. And so they did a t-shirt exchange, and we sent all these St. Jen shirts, and we're receiving shirts from all over the world. So the kids have been proudly showing off their new shirts. So down in the bottom, that happens to be some of our announcement leaders. We're still doing morning announcements every day, and they come up and share their personal story of how they're living and learning the habits. And that happens to be this morning's kindergarten announcements from Mrs. DeVitz's class, and they're working on habit number 4, Think Win-Win, this week. And then in the upper left, we had Animal Encounters is a group from Cape Girardeau, and they have rescued animals and different kinds of exotics, and they've come up for several presentations. There's Reese petting a hedgehog, and the hot animal was the kangaroo. I don't know if you heard, but we had a baby kangaroo in our building several times, and Dr. Mercer let us come up and use the middle school gym for some of the performances. So that's just, I threw that in because it was very popular. Okay. Been celebrating a lot. That's me there dancing. We had a hoedown because the super citizens earned a hoedown, a Western Day. So instead of doing everyone to the cafeteria for a certificate, we've been really trying to jazz up the celebrations. So we had a Western hoedown for our super citizens. We had a PJ Day for honor roll. We just keep trying to do some things that really don't cost a lot of money but are a lot of fun for the kids. So in the bottom left, of course, we celebrated Mrs. Greminger and all the great work she does in our building for us. It was National Counselors Week last week, and just about every grade level did something super special for her, some acts of kindness, maybe small gifts, and we tried to let her know how much we love her. In the bottom right, we celebrated the 100th day. I think it's February 4th. Does that sound right? I don't know, it kept getting pushed off because of snow. It was supposed to be something like January 26th, but it wasn't. Anyway, so all the classrooms did a lot of STEM activities. This happened to be a challenge of here's 100 cups, see how tall you can get it, see how creative you can get it. So lots of STEM activities all day long and math activities. And then as always, we celebrate our Student of the Month each month. And there's our crew for that. We get to use the PAC a lot, and we love that. So Mrs. Bowman's first and second grade music programs were in January, so we celebrated some post-Christmas singing and dancing. Really, the kids did a great job. And then something that was really exciting to me, because I'm kind of a book hound, was we had an author event with Kimberly Fusco. She donated hardback books to both fifth grades in our buildings, signed them, and then Skyped with our kids. And it was really amazing. And I'm reading the book right now, and if you guys would like to read it, we have a lot of copies. It's a great book, and she was really a generous and giving author. She answered so many great questions, and like really her passion for writing was just visible. And you could tell the kids were like, wow, she's a regular person and she writes books. Yeah, and she told them that the book that we're reading, Chasing Augustus, took her 5 years to write. And just stick with it and have grit, and don't just think you're going to write a book in a day or whatever. So it was really great. It was a great program, and the kids were mesmerized. So, and I want to thank Mrs. Jessica Uding for organizing that all. It was all her work. And then we too celebrated Kindness Week. One of our shared leadership teams, it has several teachers leading it, but probably Mrs. Evelsizer is the CEO of all of them in this particular lead group, is creating building morale and promoting like a positive school environment. And so one of the things that they're doing there is they sold candygrams, and like Lori, we're going to use our money for building shirts. Same concept, different grade level gets a different color. So every so often this little group does something to raise a little bit of money, and they sold candygrams with all kinds of kindness on them and raised some money for our shirt goal. Also they organized, and this was all kid thinking. Kids came up with all of these themes for dress up or kindness things every day. So that happens to be the superhero day. And we're also creating a chain of kindness around the entire building. There's these little strips of paper in the lobby, and you write something nice about somebody on it and put it on the good old fashioned chain like we built when we were kids. And it's gonna go all the way around the building, we hope. So we're working on spreading kindness. And then that happens to be a lot of classrooms did a lot of kind things, but that happens to be Mrs. Kreitler's preschool group. They donated care items and delivered them to the care center. So, for the residents. Oh, the talent show. This was really fun. It's amazing that these little guys and girls are brave enough to get on a stage and share their talents. And again, this goes with our Leader in Me thing, because I really truly believe that these kids see that they have something special. And so we had, this is just a snapshot of a few, we had 40 acts. They just really, you could see gymnastics, singing, telling jokes. That those little girls in the corner have like a little duet thing going on, and then the students also ran it. So not only did the students perform, the students ran, did all the lighting, music, everything. So they did a great job, and that was our talent show. Okay, and before I leave, I just wanted to say, I didn't know where this was, that's okay, that our lead groups were a little slower getting off the ground this year, but I have to say they're going full steam ahead, and I just wanted to share that. We have 14 lead groups right now with some more in the works, and it's, you know, it's kind of contagious. Once it gets going, and it's that part of our leadership program is really doing well, and also our family involvement group has been sending home a lot of weekly information and sending home activities to do with their child, and then they like show it on our Facebook page, and again that kind of spreads the good word of what's going on in the building. So we had a good month.
That's great.
Good evening. I want to thank you. I always enjoy getting the opportunity to come and brag about our students and our teachers and our building. One of our highlights, since I got to speak to you last, was our students who got to attend the showcase at the Rotunda in the Capitol building. And I see that some of you were there too. Appreciate your support and the good feedback that we got on that. These students are Jameson Kemper, Lindsay Crump, Brenna Weiner, and Evelyn Thomas. And they got to go and meet with some of our state politicians and tell them all of the great things that we do here in St. Genevieve, and specifically at the middle school. And Dr. Oldham was their escort for this trip, so they talked a lot about educational things, digital learning, global collaborations, got to play some review games with some of the state reps that include some bottle flipping, and we got some great pictures out of that. And those young ladies had an excellent time while they were there, and I'm sure, and I hope you guys can back me up on this, we're good ambassadors for our school. Those are good students with great personalities that I'm sure had no problem being outgoing and energetic, talking about the wonderful things that we do here in St. Gen. So that was just pretty cool. And one of the things that I like to do for you guys when we have this time is to give you a kind of a peek behind the curtains so that you know some of the things that are going on that may not necessarily make it to the paper or get some press or even a tweet or a Facebook post. So what I want to do is talk to you about how we spend our time in our monthly faculty meetings. One of the things that Krista and I have tried to do each month is to present to the faculty some relevant topic in education today. And I thought you might like to see some of the things that we've been discussing, both in the faculty meetings and then also through our weekly bulletin that goes out to the employees as well. Sometimes they work together, sometimes they're independent topics, sometimes they carry over month to month, but these are some of the things that we've been discussing. First of all, promoting social competence in the classroom. That's actually one of the criteria that we use to evaluate our teachers. And that's about how teachers can demonstrate, how they can model pro-social behavior in the way that they address students, the way that they talk to students, but more importantly, drawing that back out of students so that they're speaking to the teacher in a pro-social way, in a respectful way. And even more importantly than that, that they're treating each other that way. So we talked about that and gave some examples and talked about the kinds of things that we look for. We also talked about a relatively new concept called universal design for learning. It's about inclusion of all ability levels. It's about differentiation so that you're teaching to all of those levels. The basics have been in place for years, and this kind of works to bring it all together on a higher level, universal design for learning. So we talked about that. We also talked about professional learning communities and tested what our own fidelity was to that model. That's something that's been in place here for many years. So we did a little thermometer check to see how we were doing. Kristen put together a great presentation on vaping and e-cigs. In fact, that was just at our last faculty meeting. And I felt like they were really, really engaged and interested in learning more about that. It's, we see it in the news. Those numbers are growing, unfortunately. So they were very interested in learning everything that they could. So that was a really good one. And the one that we're focusing on right now is the concept of iGen. And that is this group of kids that are coming through the middle school right now. You have your baby boomers, your millennials, your Gen X. The kids that are coming through middle school right now are called iGen, or Generation Z, or sometimes they're even called the Homeland Generation, and you can imagine why. So we talk about what their unique characteristics are, how they're different from us as adults, the ways that they learn, the ways that they function, the ways that they socialize. And that was kind of our focus at the last meeting, and we continued on into the next meeting. So that's a little peek behind the curtains, as I said, so you know the kinds of things that we're talking about here at school. We've had quite a few positive office referrals since we talked to you last, and some of these are really, really good write-ups that we received. I got to tell you, my favorite is at the bottom, Chris and Dylan, right in the center there. They were written up for one of the most simple but beautiful things that we've had all year. They just welcomed a kid that was brand new at school, that didn't have anywhere to sit, and that young man got to sit and eat lunch with them on the very first day, and they helped him break the ice and get to know some kids and made sure that he wasn't alone on his first day. And like I said, really simple, but also really beautiful. But I appreciate everything that all those guys do and the great things that go on up there every day, even the ones that may not even make it to a referral. We see great things from our kids all the time. So we've had 2 Spotlight Awards since I saw you last. The first one was Rachel in January. And the comments that her peers made about her was that she is hardworking, extremely caring. Rachel is one of those people that you do not give a job to. She comes to you and takes a job. She is the kind of person that wants to assume responsibility, that wants to grow a program, that wants to be involved in as many good things as she can, because she understands the value of what we do. And then in February, overwhelmingly, the nominations pointed towards Jolene Geisner and Tina Cook in the office. And the kinds of comments that we got were basically how well they do at running the show and keeping everybody in line, making sure that things go smoothly, that they work hard and go above and beyond. So we're very, very proud of those Spotlight Award winners and think that their titles are well deserved. Some additional highlights over the last few months. Our 6th graders got to participate in the math team as well, and we had several different students achieve success there, and they'll be moving on. NJHS had a movie night. We watched Jurassic Park. It was great. Chess team is out and about competing, also finding some success there. Our local history day is now complete, and we're working with the students who are going to qualify to move on to the regional. Conference spelling bee was just a few weeks ago, and again, we even though we didn't advance anybody it was really neat to see the results come back, because Kristen and I were receiving play-by-play from Mrs. Jokers, who was telling us round by round who was left, how many were left, and it was kind of fun to be on the receiving end of that. And the students that were involved might not necessarily be students that you would suspect ahead of time, and yet did an amazing job representing the school and showing that they deserved every right to be there. And we're just really proud of what they did. And then also we got to participate in the chamber luncheon as well, right here in this very room. Some of our students were in showing our guests about spheros and how they do block coding. And it was neat to see the transition from the first couple of minutes when the kids were a little nervous and didn't know if they knew enough to talk about the subject, to just taking over. And they were comfortable. And then I started to notice the adults were nervous because they knew they were going to have to punch in the codes and control the spheros. So that was kind of a neat shift. And then finally, our 8th grade boys basketball team finished out their season first place in the conference and second place in the tournament. So we're really proud of what they have accomplished, and thank their coaches and their parents and all the extra students along the sidelines in one way or another that helped them find success this season. Thank you. Thank you.
This year we've kind of experimented with changing our weekly bulletin, and one of the things we've done is we have a lead-in from staff every week. They write the introduction, and it's sort of one of those things where I really felt like it's something about all of us, so it should be something that's from all of us. And this past one in February, or this past week, I asked Ms. Staffen because she had attended state wrestling. And I always try to pick times when I feel like the staff may be more emotionally connected. And I loved her quote, so I wanted to share it with all. And it's not just a quote. I mean, she's got it's a long article that she wrote, but this is one takeaway from it. Let's dig deep and take on all the obstacles in our way. And I thought for this time of year that was incredibly impressive. As we get out of winter, we get out of the snow days, and we start to feel the sun again, and it just feels like the world is weighing on us. And I'll talk later, but just to bring it up, her son finished 6th and was once again a state medalist. So Mom, in her last year at state, got to share in that moment, and I actually was able to be there this year and share as well. I'm going to bring you one of the things that has started to really impress me. I've seen them for 12 years as I've been here, and but this year in particular, these aren't all of them. I'll bring you more as time goes on. The number of signings that we have had this year, the academic success key to athletic success has been huge, and so much so that if you look on the very bottom there, Mr. Nixon and I finally decided it was time to buy signing banners so that we would have our logo in every shot. We could get away with it when we did 1 or 2 signings, not having one, but now that we're doing as many as we are, it seemed like it was just appropriate and necessary. That's Julia Ketting, and I always mess those two up, that signed with St. Louis Community College to play in Merrimack, and then the 2 boys are Derek Morgenthaler and Brady Boyer. They both signed at St. Charles Community College. We have Abigail Braun and Miranda Johnson, who are our Rotary Student of the Month and Elks Student of the Month. And I always love to feature these when the press releases go out because it's their senior pick, and it's so full of personality. You get to see, I mean, we see them every day, but you don't always see them like that. So congratulations to all those people. It's that time of year, and I know this isn't a past event yet, but I wanted to make sure that y'all were aware that the Polar Plunge was coming up on March 2nd at Lake Forest. What they do, Mr. Schweiss, Ms. Cleghorn, what they do for the Special Olympics and to provide opportunities for our kids is just so absolutely amazing, and it impresses me every year that the way they just dig in and find it to do more. And this year for Jelly Beans will be the first year that we will actually be traveling for a performance because it will be over in Farmington. So our all-state wrestlers, like I said, we had a pretty good slew of them this year. Jacob Dickens finished 6th, Grant Staffen was 6th, Clayton Vaughn was 5th, Genevieve Nicholson was 4th, Dalton McNeil was 4th, Maggie Miracle was 3rd, and Kaylee Gross was 2nd in an incredible state championship match in which she just fell 5-6. It was close. I mean, it was nerve-wracking close. But I want to congratulate all of them on an exciting season. And this was my first year that my schedule allowed, and I got to attend State on Saturday to watch a lot of this. And I also want to thank the students and the coaches for how welcoming they were. You know, I kind of feel bad sometimes when I go to these events because you feel like there's attention on you and it shouldn't be there. Because it's like, oh, Mr. Annie's here, Mr. Annie's here. And you don't want to mess with their mojo, but they did a fantastic job and they were just so wonderful to be around for the day. So a huge thank you to them. I'll talk a little bit more about wrestling as we get to the very end. I want to bounce to the right and talk about FCCLA. Once again, Dr. Etherton and her program are doing an amazing job for us. As a matter of fact, I called upon her to help out with your snacks tonight because I thought, yes, I know. And if you've been to our meetings, those ham sandwiches.
Oh my God.
I know. And I will say that Dr. Taylor was gracious enough to yield on snacks tonight to allow us to provide those. I know that was heart-wrenching for you, so thank you for the sacrifice that you provided. But Doc does an amazing job with their program. Lana Kemper, Josie Geisner, and Marie Bethel, Kayla Steiger all brought home gold. Silver went to Gracie Tomier, and earning a bronze were Emily Zahner and Gracie Odom. Last year, at this time, I stood before you and talked a little bit about semester Fs and what we were able to do with the Dragonfire program. And so what I wanted to bring back to you this year, as you can see from 16-17 on the 9th grade, we were at 113. Last year we dropped to 83, and an enormous drop, and I wondered what our staff would even be able to do if there was any chance of even sustaining that, let alone once again seeing a drop. And so these are the numbers again. You'll see the only blip in the radar this year was our seniors were at 34 last year, juniors, and they did go to 36. But a lot of that, what we're finding because of, and this is sort of why we're looking at accelerating the Dragonflex program, what we're finding is because of a lot of their academic success, they don't need the credits, and so they're starting to look in other places, and sometimes they're sacrificing a course because they're like, you know, I took it, I was interested in it, but I just really don't want to apply to do all the work necessary. And I think that's one of the things that led to those 12th grade Fs is just that. And so that's why we're looking at the Dragonflex program and some other opportunities for our seniors to do career exploration and college exploration and earn the credit. But hats off to my staff again. If you look at the sophomore or the freshmen, go 113 to 61 to 25 as juniors. And so when we talk about our graduation rate, and Dr. Keller does the breakdown of that, one of the things that I'm optimistic is, keep in mind these are credits. This is an increase in students earning credits that is going to drive us towards a better graduation rate in the future, is the idea that our freshmen aren't getting in near the hole that they used to get in. And if you look, back in 16-17, there was 223 Fs between our freshmen and sophomores getting out of the gate. This year, 118. So you see a massive reduction in the number of Fs. So I'm really proud of my staff and the work that they're doing with the students. Also, as a little note to try to keep it fresh and keep it rolling, Steve Belden from MoCase was here today reviewing our program, and he's going to provide some feedback for us, provide some kind of tips and tricks that he thinks can help us keep it going and continue to get in-depth services, including looking at some reading area techniques that we can use and some math techniques that we can use to continue to identify and strengthen what we do in those programs to get those numbers even lower. Competitive speech and debate, as always, it's that time of year, and the job that Mrs. Google and Ms. Uzel do with this program is exceptional. And what I really appreciate is how much they take on the big events. And this is from Springfield, Missouri. They came to me a few years ago with the idea of going down there. There's 39 other schools. And I really felt like we were David going to try to slay Goliath. But I was like, hey, if you want to give it a shot, you go right ahead. And they've been extremely successful down there. Caitlin Fuller finished 11th. Genevieve Crump finished 11th. And of course, the picture there is Caitlin Fuller and Addie Taylor placed first in novice policy debate. So just, again, incredible competition. And the other thing is just the opportunity for our students. It is absolutely a great trip, and traveling with those ladies is just amazing, and I just thank them for everything that they do. Exceptionally proud in 12 years I've been here, and all the success that we've had and the things that we've gone through. But two exceptional groups of ladies have come through. And I know that you all are aware of this, but I would be remiss if I didn't take a minute and talk about it. First ever conference championship in basketball. And I want to give you a few statistics about girls wrestling, aside from that we were third in the state. Last year, when Mesha decided to make girls wrestling a sport, they had 200 girls participating in the boys division of wrestling at the time. They anticipated 500 would come out for the sport, and 900 came out this year for the sport.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. There was a whoa moment in Mesha when they're like, we weren't prepared for this. Third in state. I want to talk a little bit about districts and state and how phenomenal these young ladies are. We finished third in districts as well. We lost Lafayette High School up in part of the Rockwood district. I think they're roughly 5 times our size. And we lost Northwestern, which I think is about 3 to 4 times our size, because all the girls are in the same district. So to me, when you go in and you're competing against schools like that, and you're finishing third in districts, that's amazing. They go on to state. They're beat by state champion was Lebanon. So again, a much larger school than us. And of course, second place, Lafayette. So they finished third in state, but really took on some major schools and did an amazing job. I also want to thank Coach Bonnell, Coach Vogt, Coach Roth. I'm missing one. Come on, help me out. Coach Gay. Yeah. Because, you know, they were really asked this year to take on, not knowing how many we were going to have, what the dynamics were going to be, to take on an entirely new team and try to make all of this work. And they did it, and they did it exceptional. And the other thing I want to point out, Coach Bonnell on Saturday didn't get to see his family much. He spent the whole time with his athletes and coaching, just start to finish, and did all of that on his birthday.
Oh my God.
And the only thing he could think to do, 12:10 a.m., I'm driving home. My wife says, hey, you got a text. And I said, read it to me, please. And it's from Coach Bonnell apologizing because he didn't get an opportunity that day to come and say hi to me personally. That's the quality and character of the staff that we have here at St. Jim, and I appreciate it deeply. So that's the principal's report. I did want to take 1 final minute to say thank you. I believe last week was officially the Board Appreciation Week, and we hope you had a wonderful one from all of us. So thank you.
I'd like to add a little something. We did get several emails from the staff. Would like to thank them for that and really appreciated that. Absolutely. Dr. Mercer, just to let you know about Mr. Oldham's class, those kids, not only was it the legislators and all them, there were hundreds of school board members, different school districts up there. And I got 11 emails from different ones that I know personally, just telling me how amazing they were.
That's great, thank you.
And then we got to actually mingle with them, and it was really yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
They were great ambassadors.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
And I will share, when Kaylee was wrestling for the championship, I was coaching a volleyball tournament, and my girls, we were getting ready to play for first place. And the girls had the phone, and they were sitting on the bench, and I had to go over to the other coach and the tournament director and say, give us 3 minutes, third round, she's wrestling for the championship. My girls won't play until they know she gets first or second. So it was really neat because I had girls from St. John and Valley, and they were all cheering her on in the gym there.
Awesome.
So it was just really cool.
That's awesome.
So, next, we will, that's all of the report of the superintendent.
Me too.
Much as you want.
Anyway, I said the share document, so I slipped it in there.
Okay.
So originally tonight, I had asked my officer team to come because it is National FFA Week, and I thought it would be a great night for them to come in their official dress and talk to you guys. And then when I was looking at the weather, I was pacing my kitchen thinking, I can't have teenagers out tonight. And so at 6 o'clock, o'clock, I sent a reminder and said, stay at home. So they're not here tonight, but I do want to talk about them a lot because this team is probably the best I've ever had. It's the smallest team, but it's the best I've ever had. So my officers this year, my president was Mary Skaggs, and she was the glue that has held this whole chapter together, especially since I was gone for all of second quarter, and I could not say enough about her. She is also the Area 15 parliamentarian for this school year. The vice president is Katie Chapman, and she will actually be taking Mary's spot for next year. She ran for office for Area 15, and she got the parliamentarian portion as well. So next year she'll step into that for Mary. The treasurer this year is Kyle Nagger. Our secretary is Logan Foff. The reporter is Becca Foff, and then the sentinel is Dakota Karen. This year we have 58 members in FFA. We're up, I think, about 9 members from last year, so we have a pretty good crew. The classes that I offer in my program, I have 2 courses of Ag Science 1, so these are all first year members that generally are freshmen or sophomores coming into the program. I have a really good crew of freshmen and sophomores in Ag Science 1. They're really excited about being into FFA, probably the best I've had in the 11 years I've been teaching. So that's been very, very nice for this year. Then they're mostly, the Ag Science 1 class is mostly an animal science-based class with leadership portion as well. The Ag Science 2, I have 1 course of Ag Science 2, which is the second year of Ag classes, and that's a plant science-based class. Again, we put the leadership in with that. Both of them have a unit with construction or mechanics in it as well. A little bit different and project-wise, but they're in the shop during that time. My semester class for the fall semester is Fish and Wildlife, and then in the spring semester we transition over to Animal Science. Turf and Landscape is a full year course. They're offered MAC credit, but it's kind of changed this year with MAC. So they can fill out all the paperwork, and if they go and take MAC courses, and after they've had 15 hours of credit, then they can get that as an elective class. So we may be looking for an easier way for them to get credit, maybe at a different university in the future. And then the last course that I have is Ag Construction, and this is pretty much an all-shop class. We make a lot of different projects, a lot of things that community members ask us to make. We never know what's going to be knocking on their door on that. I also offer an SAE co-op program. Students can either go leave campus and do more of like an internship. So I've had students that went to intern with a veterinarian. Maybe they went to one of the local like feed stores such as MFA or Royda. And some of them just stay with me because they're interested in agriculture education. So I have one that's in that right now. So on February 5th, we had our area screening that night, and I have our students do these award applications. It's approximately 15 pages. So there's some essay. They have to photograph and document all the things that they're working on. And the SAE is called Supervised Agriculture Experience. So basically it's what they're doing outside of class time. Most of it has to do with their job. So some of them are, raising fair calves or hogs. Some of them might be working at restaurants. We kind of make everything work. So it's their work experience. That's how we kind of build their resume. And with that, we can put them in a category based on their SAE. So they work on these applications most of the time through January, and then we send them on to the contest. So this year, our results were Agriculture Education, Mary Skaggs, she got 2nd place. Ag Mechanics Design and Fabrication, Logan Foff, he had 3rd place. Ag Mechanics Repair and Maintenance Entrepreneurship was Carter Joggers, he was placed 1st. Ag Processing, Dakota Karen placed 2nd. Ag Placement, Wade Schmidt was 1st. Ag Sales Placement as well, Mark Benz 2nd. Ag Services, Lena Johnson first. Beef Production, Autumn Bosler, fourth place. Diversified Crop Production, Dylan Joggers, first place. Equine Science Placement, Virginia Akins, first place. Equine Science Entrepreneurship, Katie Chapman, she got first place. Food Services, Mary Skaggs, first place. Forest Management and Production, Mason Stomberg, second place. Goat Production, Justin Kent, first place. Grain Production, Kyle Nagger, first place. Landscape Management, Caleb Roth, first place. Outdoor Recreation, Jacob Boyer, second place. Small Animal Production and Care, Becca Foff, second place. And Swine Production Entrepreneurship, Zach Burr, fifth place. And all of them that placed first automatically qualify for state. When they go to state convention in April, they go on stage in front of probably about 7,000 other FFA members in the state. And they receive a Missouri Marble plaque with their name and their category on it. So it's a pretty good award recognition for that night. So they get pretty excited about going on stage in front of everybody. Right now, we are currently working on our contest, so it's kind of what I say the busy time of year. Once we come back from Christmas break, it's just like full board with the applications and the contest. So some of the contests that we have done this past fall, my officers had a rituals contest. We had a grassland evaluation contest that we went out in the district level, and I had a few public speakers in the fall. But in the spring right now, what we're currently working on is I have some first-year members in Ag Science 1 that are working on knowledge, so just about FFA history. I've got a student that has memorized our FFA creed, which is 5 paragraphs, and he will present that at the contest. I have a few students that are working on public speaking that have wrote speeches. So they have different topics from Prek breeders. I have one of them that's talking about protecting the fact that kids should still be able to work on the family farm without putting laws in front of that, such as what they've tried to do in the past. We have a member that will be participating in the job interview contest, so she'll be interviewing for a fictitious job. Some of them just on the record keeping and things that they've done already in the past. Conducting a meeting, officer books, our career development events that are team events, our entomology, farm management, livestock, judging cattle, nursery landscape, poultry, dairy cattle, horse evaluation, and ag sales. And I think that's what we're going to stop at for this year. That's about as much as I can coach through this year. These are some of our main activities that I wanted to talk about that we do as a chapter. We have our family welcome picnic whenever we come back to school. We make sure that we invite all of the family members, the new members especially, have them bring their family, have a big potluck picnic and get to know everyone. We participate in MoDOT trash pickup twice a year. The students get to go to CMO Fair. A couple of things that we do down there. Some of them participate in the public speaking contest that day. Some of them may participate in the tractor rodeo. We had one that I believe he got 3rd place this year, Leo Geck. So that's where they have to drive a tractor and a single axle trailer through an obstacle course. And then once they get to the obstacle course, it's a figure 8. So they'll have a figure 8 forward, and then they have to bag the trailer and the tractor, or the tractor and the trailer through the figure 8 the other way without hitting the barn or anything, or contestants or anything else. We also go bowling around December time. Our 2 big fundraisers are our fruit sales and our mum sales. As part of FFA week, we take an SAE tour. This is actually probably the most important field trip that I feel like for my students, because I try to find businesses in our area that they could potentially go into after they graduate high school or college or tech or whatever they decide to do. So for instance, this year we're going to go to 4 different places in St. John County. This Friday actually, we're going to go to Cedar Creek Poultry Company, which is part of the Fleets family. We're going to go to William Novy, Fleets Equipment, and Citizens Electric. So So they get to see different aspects of agriculture that they could possibly go into. We have had a biennial dinner auction to raise funds for different trips that we've had, our end of the year awards banquet, and then another program that we have teamed up with the both elementaries now that we've included Bloomsdale this last year, is our Ag in the Classroom and our mini fair. This is actually sponsored through a grant with Missouri Farm Bureau. And we go into the classroom for the first grade students, usually about mid-April, somewhere around Easter, I guess, is when we like to go. My students do presentations for all of the first grade students. We mainly focus on the dairy industry because it's an easy one to teach for first graders. So we have the cow milking demonstration. We talk about the items that we get from cows. They have some packets about how it goes from the cow all the way to basically the store. And then in May, we put out a mini fair at the fairgrounds. My students will bring animals, they'll set up displays, everything from farm equipment to, I think we had bees one year, seeds, all kinds of things. And then they come down and we give them a little tour and they get to come to the fair. Some of the conferences that we also attend, our leadership conference, our league conference, FFA puts on for our officers. That's also kind of goes with our area leadership conference. It's just to kind of get our officers motivated for the summer and the year. Our Green Hand Motivational Conference is for our first year members to kind of get and mingle with other FFA members. National FFA Convention that we've tried to go every other year. Our state FFA convention, FFA camp at Lake of the Ozarks, and then Washington Leadership Conference. And then, like I said, this week is National FFA Week. So today was Wear Your FFA Jacket Day. And tomorrow we are hoping to have our 8th graders come and see what we do as far as our program. So we're going to give them a tour. Thursday they're having their FFA hoodie day. I think they're having a movie day as well. Friday's our SAE tour, and then a new program that we decided to start this year is called Think a Farmer. So we're inviting all of farmers or agribusiness people in the county to a free luncheon here in the cafeteria.
That's awesome.
So, does everybody have any questions for me? Yeah, and so this is about 10% of what we do. So.
That's great.
It's easy to do, hit the road.
Good old calendar.
The next thing I bring you tonight is the proposed calendar for the 2019-20 school year. And just like last month, I was looking at it today and thought, wow, and then I found a typo. So I will fix that before we publish it. It's down at the bottom. So with the calendar, we do have a calendar committee here in the district that has teachers, support staff, a variety of individuals involved in the process. We did meet in January and then again in February. January was a preliminary meeting just to take a look at the calendar and see how it transferred from this year's calendar to next year, because we just rolled over the first time. The second meeting was to take a look at the comments provided by all employees. So to gather those comments and suggestions, we put a survey out, and the first time around we didn't get a whole lot of feedback, so I put it back out because we had some snow days. So I put it back out, and we ended up with 28 comments and or suggestions. So then what I did for the committee was I took those and put them into topics, and they came to 3 topics. The first one was to change the registration dates, and I'll explain more what the committee decided to do on each of these.
The second was to add additional time for professional development. And the third was, there were suggestions based on attendance days and hours and all kinds of different ways to look at things. So with the first comment, suggestion, this actually came from our tech department. This year they experienced some problems because we had registration dates for the elementaries, middle school, and high school all set on the same 2 days. So what that did is it stretched them very thin, and they couldn't get, I think, to the middle school this year. And they felt like they didn't give the middle school the support they needed as parents were coming in and trying to register their students. So at an admin meeting, the building admin and Mrs. Toombs all kind of talked through how we could possibly resolve that. So their suggestion to the committee and to you all tonight is to move registrations for Bloomsdale and St. John Elementary to August 6th and 7th, and to leave middle school and high school registrations on August 7th and 8th. Mrs. Zuspin and Mrs. Diesel said their largest crowd is on that first day of registration, so they felt like, the second day that they could handle it on their own if tech got busy with the middle school and high school registrations. So that was the first change that happened on the calendar. Additional professional development is something we're always needing and looking for. And so the committee chose to add 2 early outs to this calendar to provide a little professional development time in the fall and then again in the spring. So on Wednesday, September 25th, there will be an early dismissal at 1 p.m. And then again on Friday, February 14th at 1 p.m. with professional development for teachers and paras from 1:15 to 3. You're probably saying, why are you doing a Wednesday in the fall? But Fridays, we have home football games and away football games, and there's just a lot going on Friday in the fall. So we went ahead and we're going to try that one on a Wednesday. In February, we did have one of our varsity basketball coaches, Jordana Robinson, is on this committee. She felt like a Friday during basketball season isn't as crucial as a Friday during football volleyball season. So she felt like it could be worked around. So the committee did add those 2 early outs for professional development. And then the third category. So the suggestions here vary greatly. Everything from remove days of attendance from the calendar, add breaks to the end of each quarter, lengthen the school day, remove makeup days at the end of this calendar, use holidays for makeup days, and use Easter break for makeup days. So the committee didn't act on any of those suggestions because the state law requires for the 1920 calendar, it takes out the day requirements. So this year, we are required to attend 174 days. And so we are attending 174 days, which is what St. John R2 has traditionally done. Next year for 1920, the requirement is that you attend 1,044 hours. So if you look, I did put the information at the bottom of the calendar that the state law required, and that should be minimum. Attendance hours is 1,044. But this calendar proposes that we attend 1,119. State funding on your average daily attendance will not change, because I did contact our rep at DESI to make sure if we went more hours than required, we would be funded, and yes, it's fine. So the committee didn't make any of these changes, even though we are going more hours, because teachers are currently under a contract for 190 days. So if you take any of the 174 days that student attends school out, they're actually going to lose pay and or not get a pay increase for several years because they won't have a 190-day contract anymore. The other group that they looked at was the less than 12-month support staff. They are paid basically on days when students are here. So if students aren't here, they're going to lose income too. Probably the most significant, important reason they didn't move any days and remove any attendance days off of the 174 is that our students, if you go to 1,044 hours, our students will lose approximately 12 days of instruction. That is not in their best interest at all, because we have a hard time getting the curriculum in and meeting all the state standards and being prepared for state assessments in the spring with the limited time we do have. So, you know, they weren't willing to take those days away from students, teachers, and the support staff. As far as using holidays for makeup days, I did point out and let them know that Veterans Day, because that was a suggestion, Veterans Day, Martin Luther King Jr., and President's Day are now paid holidays on the support staff policy. Back when we used them several years ago, they were not. They have been negotiated through meet and confer and are now paid holidays for all those support staff employees. And then
Correct me if
Easter-
I'm wrong, but when we had those days off, we were asked to do the opposite.
Yeah.
Correct.
That is correct.
And same thing with Easter break, and that was gonna be my follow-up. You know, several years ago, several of us remember that it was a huge controversy. Parents were upset, our high school kids were upset because, you know, they had planned to work and now they were gonna have to figure out, have somebody cover. Community members were upset. It was just, it wasn't a good situation. So the committee did not want to change any of that and go back to all that controversy that we had in the past. We did leave the makeup days on the end of the calendar like we traditionally have, because we're going to report to DESE in August that we're going to attend 1,119 hours. So we have to make sure we attend 1,119 hours. So this is the calendar that I proposed tonight that you adopt. It is, state law does require us, and we did put it on the agenda, and in the motion you'll see it. State law does require that we have notified the public that the start date is more than 10 days prior to the first Monday in September. So we did put that notice on the agenda, and like I said, it will be part of your motion. So I just wanted to point it out and make sure that you were aware too.
Wait, we changed the dead period, this year's change, right?
Mm-hmm. Dead period.
Can you re-explain that, because I had a parent ask me the rationale behind that.
Misha actually first allowed the practice back to Monday, August 12th. We have traditionally set the dead period the week before that first practice, because then it combines with a 7-day dead period that you're required to have no matter what, in a fall sport. We changed it because if we set the Misha dead period the week before that August 12th, we would be doing registration, teachers trainings during the dead week, and we wouldn't want to do that, so that would push all of that back. And then we would start school later with the possibility of going and ending the school year in June. So we chose to move it and put it around 4th of July to try that.
To avoid a conflict.
To avoid a conflict.
So that's
And
only
Bishop-
this year though, right?
It might be for several years, because like, that's gonna, first fall practice will stay somewhere around that date. You know, as the calendar moves up, it'll move around, but it'll stay somewhere around that August 12th.
A lot of it was triggered by Michigan backing up the first time when they practiced. Okay.
Yes, it was.
We set the dead period
In August.
in August. And we'll
August
set
2018.
it again in August.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
When we were in Jefferson City, we brought up this calendar with some of the legislators, and there's a push to make it, mandated within 10 days of Labor Day, but I don't think there's a lot of support for that. It should be a local decision. It was really the folks based around the tourism areas of the state. So, and everyone I've talked to, they're fine with it the way it is.
Is there some schools that's gone to 4-day school weeks around Missouri? What's the, how, is it a big trend, small trend?
I don't know that it's a big trend.
figure like what, 25 of them this year, something like that.
Is that kind of for, cost, the school district's cost or thing on things?
Yeah.
They do it for different reasons.
Finances.
Usually
Was that at
to cut
Jeff City?
finance, to cut some finance.
I think, I can't remember whether the session was at Jeff City or in a regional, but it was a cost-based decision, but they weren't saving near what they thought they were going to
Really?
save.
See, I kind of.
And actually, we found some research out of Harvard that whenever you do that, your crime rate on Fridays go up.
Your crime rate goes
Yeah,
up.
and juvenile.
Yeah.
Juvenile.
They're just roaming, I guess.
Yeah, they're in
That's a good work week, thank you.
We're okay with
But,
7
you
would
know,
be fine with me.
You want to put down the motion, change the calendar?
Yeah, change the calendar, 7 days a week.
you know,
At least I know what to do each day.
4 days
Oh, I don't think so either.
was mentioned, there was one comment on it, but it was more like, I don't know anything about this, but I know some schools are doing it, so I shared those, in the committee's thought process with all employees, and basically, a move like that would be a very large community discussion, and I don't think we're anywhere near that. I know I like having my children in school 5 days. But, I don't think we're anywhere near that, but it is happening.
It's happening.
In other places.
It's great to see the additional professional development too.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Well,
Okay.
where we at?
Move to approve the 2019-2020 school calendar as presented, which includes a start date more than 10 calendar days prior to the first Monday in September.
Well, second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to new business. First is the amended budget.
And you should all have the green book, plus it was also put in the classroom before tonight, so you could review it. I reviewed how Dr. Lindsay approached budget and amended budget. I remember the conversations that we had. My philosophy is very similar to his. It's a balance between what our kids need and being fiscally responsible to our patrons. I continued the approach of being conservative with revenue projections, trying to be extremely accurate with our projected expenditures, and then continued the practice of building in contingency money for those surprise, unexpected expenses that happen. The one huge challenge this year is that we have done a complete accounting code structure change. So it's not just me learning the process, everybody's relearning the process because nothing is coded the same anymore. Especially in the elementary, we used to have 2 elementary accounts and now they all flow into one with building codes to split and identify them. So it's a little overwhelming at times. And the other challenge that is happening is that whenever you get your code set and you think you're in a good place, DESE will come out with an update and change the code, especially in special education. That's the most complicated one. So, we have gone through that. Chris Ritter has been amazing. She knows it backwards and forwards, and she's keeping us all in line like she always does. In June, when the original budget is put together and presented for the board, basically it's your best guess of what the assumptions and the projections and the information coming out of the State Department is, because you really don't have any idea what the state of the economy is going to be, how things are going to flow, and what's going to happen. So you do your best to take a good guess at it. With the amended budget here in February, I feel like we have a much better understanding of the projections and assumptions for the revenues and expenditures. So far, the economy is good. Revenues with basic formula money and the other money that flows into the district are really where they need to be, maybe a little bit higher. I hate to say that too loud because then, tomorrow you may blink your eye and something may fall apart. But all the revenues seem to be coming in really good. The changes that you will see in this amended budget from the original budget is that there is a negative adjustment on the balance projections for the operating fund. Operating fund, if you remember, is funds 1 and 2. There is a positive adjustment to the debt service fund, which is Fund 3, and it looks like there should be a 0 balance in the capital projects fund. So the things that really contributed to those changes, one was the increase in the debt service levy to from 26 cents to 44. The increase there is helping us cover the bond payment for this year just with the money from that 44 cents. Plus, it is also helping us get ready for the large bond payment in fiscal year 2021. The other thing that is contributing here is DESI came out with a new requirement that any support staff, like our aides or paras, can hold a Missouri substitute teacher certificate. They have to be coded to the teacher's fund in Fund 2 and be paid out of Fund 2 instead of out of Fund 1. So that is a little bit higher contribution rate to their retirement system when they're paid out of Fund 2. And then through collaboration and me begging and the principals being very generous, we did a 10% reduction in the remaining balances for like general supplies and textbook accounts. But of course, they've all been told and reassured if something pops up that I will take care of them and we'll make sure that they're okay and they have what they need. So I really appreciate them talking to me and helping me get through that. So I still do anticipate using balances to support programs and services provided by students, but not as much as was projected in June. So I feel very comfortable and confident in this budget. I really need to thank Chris Ritter. She really helped hold my hand and walk me through it. And then, like I said, the building principals, they were wonderful to talk to. Dr. Taylor, Dr. Green, they were all very supportive as I tried to work through this. So even though I was a little crazy at times. So this is the amended budget that I propose to you tonight for adoption.
Can I add something?
Yes.
When we went to that legislative forum as a school board, we had some breakout sessions, and I and you went to it, David.
We went to that.
We asked the people put on a presentation of the budget, the development of the budget, and we served the schools in the state of Missouri. There's over 500 school districts, educating over 900,000 kids. Okay, the budget, the state budget, 37%. Last year's budget was last year's budget, which is multi-billion dollars, 37%. I said, how much of that 37% comes from the lottery? Well, they couldn't give us a percentage. I said, well, if you look at the advertisements on television, which I'm saying most of us have seen, they watch that dollar bill go across the television, it's all going to education. That is not a big windfall coming through. It's a very small portion of a multi-billion-dollar budget. Correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. So, and for our clarification purposes, there's not as much money coming. There's money coming in. We're not going to turn it down. But it's not as much money as you would believe by watching the advertisement on television. And then one time, the way it was explained, that lottery money is meant to supplement the budget. And it has evolved where it supplants, which is a big difference, folks. You know that yourself. And during that conversation too, the governor, thank goodness, he's going to put in $10 million extra for transportation. I said, that's great. I said, my district can take up over 1/10 of that, because we pay in over $1 million in transportation ourselves that the state should give us. So I'm not going to turn it down, don't get me wrong. But when you take $10 million and divide it up by 500 school districts, not a lot of money, and we have to pay ourselves. So just some clarification, because don't be fooled by that dollar that goes across the television screen. Anybody else want to add something to that? Dave, not covered?
The transportation piece is supposed to be funded at 75%, I believe. That's the state statute. And last year we received 17%. of the
The 75%.
well, no, 17% versus
Okay.
75.
Oh, yeah,
Have you heard anything among superintendents in the state, general revenue is about $500 million short, they think that's a tax? Is that, they're still on, that's the theory that the money will come? Keep hope alive.
You gotta leave anything out?
No.
People there with me, did I leave anything out?
No.
And that water money comes in one hand, but then they take it out the other.
Right.
Yeah, it's kinda like, oh, great, here's this money. Well, you don't, well, this
We'll
is.
deduct that.
I think $9 billion out of general revenue goes to education, and of that $9 billion, approximately 7 to 8 million.
A very small percentage, no, we're not gonna turn it down, it's great,
Lottery.
we're with it, you know, but don't think there's this big.
They use $1 million just to advertise.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry.
No.
I'd like to add one thing too, if I may.
Sure.
I want the board to know, as the old guy in the room, having been through 10 years of amended budgets with 4 different superintendents, this one.
I can talk that.
This isn't a.
How many years you wanna go back?
This isn't, but as that current person who's been through 10 years of this with 4 different superintendents, I just want the board to know this one, in my feeling, went incredibly smooth, and the collaboration and communication was excellent of Dr. Fleet. So I felt like I needed to say that because it was very appreciated, and to me, having been through them before and seeing the good and the bad, this was definitely the good, so thank you.
And thanks for
Because you all
the
work together.
10%, because with the tax increase, I think us saving 10% helps us give our part towards those that we're asking to pay more.
Right.
Is that correct? Get my statements, anybody, okay?
Yeah, you were correct.
And I had
No,
several.
you are the old guy in the room.
I look around.
He needs to talk to you after class.
See you in the principal's office. We're going 14 miles north. But I did have several board members in that meeting come up and say, hey, thanks for asking that. A lot of them, thanks for that, because they weren't, they're just in the dark. You know, so. That's all, folks.
You asked it nicely. I want to say where. Seriously, where's the lottery money going? But Terry was a little bit nicer. Asked it.
I didn't do one time, it was gonna come out.
Okay. Any more questions about the amended budget comments? All for a vote.
I'll move to approve the amended budget for the 2018-19 school year as presented.
Oops, yeah.
A motion and a second, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have CISA. Dr. Blake. Dr. Taylor.
I can do it.
No.
I want to make a comment on the process first. This is my first year participating, seeing all of the pieces of the puzzle fit together. Previous years, I was just part of one section and was able to update one section. So it was very enlightening to be able to walk around to all the different parts and listen to the input. And a lot of times as educators, we get blinders on and we're going in this direction. Hearing parents and their perspective and having them give their input, and it breaks us out of our mold and allows us to see the bigger picture and what the direction that they're coming from. It was really a wonderful process, and I enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. So I went home that night thinking, I kind of like my job. That was really cool. So there are some things I've kind of stuck in my head to maybe try and do a little differently next year to get some more parents involved, which is always, the struggle because they have to give up their time too. But we really appreciate those people coming in. There were 42 people on the committee this year that gave of their time. And it usually takes about 2.5 hours to get through all of it. So we're really appreciative. I'm just going to hit the highlights. This is a big document. There were a lot of changes made. Most of them were very, very minor. But I am going to walk you through a couple of them, and you have this copy in your board packet. If you turn to page 2 and 3, I made a note, comment 5 and comment 6, regarding the new English language arts and math assessments that are aligned to the Missouri Learning Standards, and that's just to give us a reminder that in 2018 we cannot compare that. All the data is listed here since 2010, but we need to remember we can't compare 2018 to the previous years, so I made a note in there about that. If you'll then turn to page 10. This actually goes with the technology section. Mrs. Staffen was in there, and I think for several years she's been struggling with how to track library materials. Since we got rid of our big stacks, we still have books there, and books are still checked out of our libraries, but it's gone so much more digital. And so, for example, the Mondo pad on wheels, how do we track that being checked out? How do we track an electronic item being checked out of the library and sitting in a classroom that's going to be used every 3rd and 5th hour? It's not used all day long, and so you don't want to say that it's being used all day long, but it's checked out of the library. So we're working on different ways, and we have some ideas on how to change this and make it more applicable, because she can go in and pull that data out. How many books have we checked out, this last year? But how applicable is that in our new digital-driven world? So we're going to keep our eyes and ears open this year, talk to some different schools and see how they do it, and maybe come up with some ideas on how to track that. So that hopefully will be a big change for next year. Page 13. Since we have our new app that goes through ThrillShare, we added a couple items on page 13, continually update and post athletic, academic, special events, and reminders as needed. And as social media continues to evolve, these will continue to evolve. A little later, we have some more safety items associated with social media as well. So action step 11 on page 13, share daily happenings, accomplishments, and celebrations using appropriate technological tools and media. I feel like this will, right now we do a really good job of getting information out there on social media. I feel like when Bailey Otto comes on March 4th, she will be able to consolidate that and give more of a concerted effort, more of a focused effort moving in the same direction from all the buildings. I feel like when we have her as a point of contact, she's going to be able to collect that data and then disseminate it appropriately. So that's going to be a benefit. Page 22. This has been something that it's been a pleasure to be a part of. I've went to a couple meetings with local businesses. Sandra Cabot is kind of spearheading this, and it's to try and pair up students who may not be going to college with local businesses in an internship type situation, or maybe even being hired. And so working with Mr. Haney and the Dragon Flex program is what they're calling it, and those local business leaders on the front lines of attempting to get this started and get some of our students who may not be traditional students and may need to get out in the workforce. And at a minimum, go to these jobs and say, I really don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I need to, kick it in gear. Or to say, this is really something that I'd like doing. So that's been a pleasure to be a part of it. We added an action step, strategy 9, action step 3. Utilize Dragon Flex to partner with local industries in order to provide opportunities for 11th and 12th grade students. Page 24. Action step 10, strategy 11, action step 10. We just adjusted some school home coordinator, I guess it's job duties. As we continue to utilize Stephanie Geck in that school home coordinator position. Now, I don't know how we lived without her before. She has a tremendous knowledge of community counseling services that our community provides, how community counseling connects with the juvenile office, and she just brings all of that knowledge together in order to provide our students and our families with the services that they need, regardless of what they may be. She helps with attendance, she helps with all kinds of issues. And so as her job continues to evolve, we adjusted that a little bit. Page 25, strategy 15, the day treatment program. This continues to evolve as well. I stop by there quite a bit to see those kiddos, and it's always energetic. And it is a continual challenge to meet their needs. So we added strategy 15 action step 1 and 2 there related to the day treatment program in order to continue to identify those students with those needs and continue to serve them. Page 29. Strategy 7, numbers 2 and 3. Provide students and faculty with information for internet safety through a variety of means, and provide resources for parents related to internet and social media safety using a variety of methods. I have kids at home that use social media extensively, and I have to tell you, I am scared to death. We like to trust our students in the district. We like to trust our children, but they are children. And making a mistake in today's world on social media is much, much different than when we grew up. We need to continue to find ways to help them navigate that world. And an outsider looking in, because that's what we're doing when we're watching them use social media, it is very difficult for us to understand the pressures associated with using social media. And trying to tell those children how to navigate it safely when we're an outsider looking in is a very challenging task. So I know that Mr. Draper, and I can't remember who else went with him to Jefferson R7.
Me and Mr.
They took a trip to Jefferson R7. They implemented a policy there where parents had to attend an informational session, and I think that was, you would probably speak better to this than I do.
You're doing a great job.
To safety, phone safety, social media safety. Parents had to attend that if they wanted their child to be in possession of their phone at school. I spoke to Clint at Jefferson R7, the superintendent. He is a big proponent of this, said it went well. And even the pushback that he received, those parents after attending those meetings were thankful that they did. I don't know that we need to do that, but we need to do something. We need to provide some evenings, some informational evenings for parents, where we have people come in who know what they're talking about and are able to navigate social media and the dangers associated with it. So that's something that we're continually looking at and we're taking very seriously. I don't know the answer, but I would like to come up with something for our students and for our parents.
During Mr. Haney's principal advisory, I think you two stepped up. This was something that the kids brought up. Right. How do we do better?
Yeah. I could go on this all night. Page 30. Strategy 8, number 5. Our technology department does a fantastic job, and I don't know how, because they are overwhelmed and understaffed and are constantly pulled in 10 different directions. So I wanted to try, and when I was at the middle school, we tried to have our office aides in the counselor's office act as a first point of contact for middle school students when they had technology issues. So when they had an issue in class, they would go to see that student helper first, and they would go through the protocol, shut it down, turn it off, restart it. Okay, this isn't working or that. They would walk them through it, and then if they couldn't help them, then it was time to go to technology and see them. Because being inundated with students who need to turn their Chromebook off and turn it back on in order for it to work correctly is not time our technology department has or needs to spend it. So Mr. Haney was kind enough to get on board with having a student technology desk located in the library. It's in its infancy, and it doesn't have its legs under it yet, but it's a step in the right direction, and I think we have some students that are enthusiastic about managing. And as it evolves, we will hopefully come up with projects that they can do, and those techie kids who really enjoy doing that stuff can can be productive and pull some of that time and those issues away from our technology department. So we added that action step, continue to investigate the feasibility and effectiveness of a student technology help desk housed in the media center. And last one, 36. Strategy 8, number 3. Mr. Schweiss brought this up, and it has to do with building safety. And as a building principal, I can remember walking through the building with Mr. Schweiss and an insurance person occasionally, identifying safety issues or if there were any violations and how we go about fixing those violations. And this has been changed now and makes more sense because principals have those back-to-school meetings with faculty. And as a principal, what we would always do is say, look around your room. If there are any file cabinets, bookshelves that aren't attached to the wall, be sure to let us know immediately. That has to be fixed before students come back. So now the principals are going to, really, they do that already. We just put it down rather than assistant superintendent finding Keith and building principal and walking around and trying to identify issues. They do that on their own, and they go over those safety issues in their faculty meetings with their teachers. So we adjusted that. So it was a very rewarding process. I enjoyed it immensely. The format, I have to say, was fantastic. I don't know who might have come up with that. But it was well organized. There wasn't a lot of formatting or nonsense that I had to take out of there. It's pretty streamlined. So I was really happy with the process.
Yes.
My favorite comment is always, now wait a minute, from the parents, tell me what all those acronyms mean. We forget in education, we have our own little language sometimes. So, my favorite.
Okay. Call for vote.
Move to approve the revisions to the CSIT plan as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Mr. McDaniel.
I just wanted to congratulate Dr. Fleeg, Dr. Taylor, and all the kids and principals that contributed to that chamber meeting.
Oh, yes.
That was a huge hit. I heard lots of positive comments, so thank you all.
And if I can add, they're coming back in a
Yes.
way. The chamber is sponsoring a leadership program for some of the big businesses in town to send their employees to. And Jerry and I are attending that from St. John R2. And once a month, we go out and visit businesses, find out how things work behind the scenes, talk about leadership, their employment structure, have a nice breakfast, have a nice lunch. And one of the days that they have coming up is another extended visit of St. John R2. So I'm really looking forward and seeing what we have to show off there. And I think it's a great opportunity for us.
Yes.
I move that the Board of Education hold a closed meeting on the closed record and closed vote following the regular open meeting on March 19, 2019, to be held in Yard David Thomas Library, 715 Washington Street, St. Genevieve, Missouri, for the purpose of discussing and voting upon the following items of business: legal action, causes of action, or litigation; lease, purchase, or sale of real estate; hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting particular employees; proceedings involving the mental or physical health of identifiable individuals; scholastic probation, expulsion, or graduation of identifiable individuals; testing and examination materials; welfare cases of identifiable individuals; preparation for negotiation with employee groups; software codes for electronic data processing and documentation thereof; specifications for competitive bidding until approved or published; sealed bids and related documents until the bids are open; sealed proposals and related documents until all proposals are rejected, or any documents related to negotiated contract until the contract is executed; individually identifiable personnel records, performance ratings, or records pertaining to employees or applicants for employment; records protected from disclosure by law; scientific and technological innovation in which the owner has proprietary interest; records relating to municipal hotlines established for the reporting of abuse and wrongdoing; confidential privileged communication with an auditor; operational guidelines, policies, and specific response plans for preventing or responding to a critical incident; existing or proposed security systems and structural plans of district property; the portion of a record that identifies security system or access codes; records that identify and would allow unauthorized access to or unlawful disruption of the configuration of components or the operation of computer, computer systems, computer network, or telecommunications network. Credit card numbers, personal identification numbers, digital certificates, physical and virtual keys, access codes, or authorization codes that are used to protect electronic transactions. I further move that notice of this meeting as tentative agenda be posted as required by law. Got a motion and a second. Roll call, Eric Balzer?
Yes.
David Bova?
Yes.
Joan Hook?
Yes.
Jim Kirchner?
Yes.
Harry McDaniel, yes. Martha Reeser?
Yes.
Richard Rudolph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Move to go to closed session with a closed record and a closed vote after a short break.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?